And today we have someone that you have got to know and meet. This is an incredible person that we have as a partner. The Honorable James D. Rodriguez holds a Bachelor of Science degree in political science from with a Master's of Arts degree in International Commerce and Policy from George Mason University School of Public Policy. He served for 21 years in the United States Marine Corps. Semper Fi. Well, once in a while, even an old Army guy is allowed to say that. So, Semper Fi, sir. uh, with more than 30 years' experience in government and the corporate sector, he also previously served as the Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense, Office of Warrior Care Policy, Office of the Secretary of Defense from 2014 to 2017. He currently serves as the Assistant Secretary for the U.S. Department of Labor's Veterans Employment and Training Service. It's VETS, VETS. Mr. Rodriguez also serves as an adjunct faculty member in the Department of Government and Political Science in the University of Maryland Global Campus. Sir, reading all of that, I was just astounded, all the things, accomplishments you've had. And thank you, first of all, for your service as a United States Marine. We love you. Thank you for your support of the country and keeping us all safe. Today's discussion is going to be vets' jobs, programs, and services. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on again. I know it's been a
Yes.
while since we last spoke, but I was fortunate enough. I joined the conversation that you just had, and you finished with Eugene and Maurice. So some very good information that those two great Americans got to present on this channel. So hopefully, a lot of these young men and women who are in service and or thinking of joining the service learn from those two amazing soldiers. That said, I would be remiss, and I wouldn't be able to sleep at night if I didn't say it's Semper Fi, not Semper Fi.
Oh, yeah, that's amplify. Yes, sir.
Semper Fi. Yeah. I wore my Marine Corps hat because I knew I was going to be surrounded by soldiers, so I had to do that.
Simplify, because it never processes through the army brain.
But the Marines wouldn't let me live it down if I didn't say anything about that. So
Yeah, I have
nothing.
a very good friend, Judge Hooks, Bill Hooks, who's here in Chicago, but he's a Marine, so he never lets me get by with anything.
There we go. There we go. Hey, it's a pleasure being on. I appreciate again the
Yes,
voice
sir.
that you have and your team has across the country on numerous subjects that affect our men and women in uniform, our veterans and military families. So it's an honor for me to be again with you all again.
Okay, great. Yeah, because I know you have many different program areas. So, I was looking through your website, which is phenomenal. I really would really suggest that people go to this website and look at your website. Really a wealth of information. There were 6 program areas I saw highlighted. The Higher Vets Medallion Program, HVMP, the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program, HVRP, Jobs for Veterans State Grants, JVSG, the National Veterans Training Institute, NVTI, and the Transition Assistance Program, or TAP. He also has the Uniformed Services Employment and Reemployment Rights Act, so USERRA. There's also off-base transition training as well that's available. So, I mean, that's a load of things that are services that our veterans can take care of. It not only helps our veterans, but their families, their children, for generations, being able to impact that. So I'm not sure where you want to start because there's so many vistas that you can cover.
Well, that was a really good summary of our programs. So I'll give you a little bit of additional details, and then I want to make sure I answer questions that you have. But just a quick oversight of our programs. So last year alone, DOO Vets, we provided resources and support in our programs alone, the ones that you mentioned, to over 430,000 veterans, as well as transitioning service members and military spouses. I have about 2,800 contractors, federal government employees grantees who I consider the DOL vets team, spread across the entire country, including military installations overseas. We provide TAP training as well as our employment navigator partners who are taught with who their resources are actually highlighted in our TAP training courses overseas. And from a holistic standpoint, we are providing resources as someone's transitioning out of the program through the Department of Labor's one-day transition assistance program course. It's mandatory, and then 2 optional days. And then after that, when they transition out as veterans, we have the ability to still continue to support them, as you mentioned, through our American Job Centers, where annually we provide support to about 150,000 veterans across the country, where I have roughly 1,400 disabled veteran outreach program leads and local veteran employment resources leads in every state, in every community. And they're the ones who do the hard work. And I can give you some stories that I think would resonate with everyone. I just visited literally yesterday in Phoenix, Arizona, an American Job Center where they are working with our veterans who are seeking employment and who have barriers to employment. So those programs exist to support that community who's looking to find their next career in many cases, as well as those who just recently transitioned out of the military. When they get out and they're looking for employment resources, that's where they can go through and partner with our American Job Centers. And then we have another off-base transition training program that is still in its pilot phase that we launched 2 years ago. And in that program, we're at 20 states, 35 metropolitan areas across the country. The states that have the highest unemployment rates for veterans, we put resources there to support veterans who've been out for a while and are looking to either upskill, reskill, update their resumes, learn how to use LinkedIn, learn how to write federal resumes, things like that to support the veteran community. Because as you know, oftentimes when we're separating from the military and we go to TAP class, we may not be able to take all that information in. Then later, after we've been out of the military, then we can really go back, take some more information that is provided through the off-base transition training, which is a similar program as the DoD TAP course, and really help us make some more refined decisions on what type of employment we're seeking, as well as how to get connected to other employers who are seeking our skills as veterans.
Yeah, I'm so proud of what you're doing, because I see so many veterans who are, they sort of lose hope. We had a person who was here who's actually working with the DAV, but he was a Purple Heart recipient, from the Iraq War. And the things that he had to go through, he has been with them for 12 years now, but he was homeless. He had gone through so many different trials and tribulations. So this kind of program is like a godsend for many of our veterans, their families, and their children. It gives them employment, and they are able to survive. And in fiscal year 2023, I got this from your website, but there was over 2,400 DOL veteran employee and training service staff, contractors, and grantees serve more than 430,000 veterans and military spouses across all agency programs. That is like astounding. I saw that number and I was like, is that right? That's 500,000 people.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, we are a small but mighty agency, right? Our big brothers over at the Department of Veterans Affairs, they are large. They've got such a complex portfolio, which I'm a Department of Veterans Affairs alum as well. They've got such a complex portfolio, but our focus is literally on employment and supporting veterans who will have barriers to employment. As you mentioned, that veteran who was a Purple Heart recipient and was homeless, we have grantees through our Homeless Veteran Reintegration Program all across the country where we support those type of veterans who are at risk of being homeless or are indeed homeless. I visited a homeless shelter in Phoenix here yesterday. As a matter of fact, I just got in last night from Phoenix after a couple of days. And our grantees provide employment resources. We partner very closely with the Department of Veterans Affairs at the local levels and, of course, at the national levels. They get those veterans housed, get them health care, and then we get them employment. And that's working extremely well. Last year alone, we had about $57 million to 160 grantees across the country. And we touched about 17,350 veterans across the country through that Homeless Veteran Reintegration Program grant just in itself. And so we know the programs work. I get out across the country and I visit a lot of these centers where our grantees are working, and they are doing God's work. I can tell you from numerous stories of the impact that they have literally on people's lives when they've struggled a little bit after military service. Fortunately, you mentioned the DAV. I was out in Phoenix because of the Disabled American Veterans Conference. Spent a couple of days out there, and I got to provide a brief similar to this about what we do at DOL Vets. And then a week prior, I was out at the VFW National Conference in Louisville, Kentucky, and got to do the exact same thing. And I heard you all talking about this earlier, is that encouraging these young men and women to join these organizations because they are indeed advocates for the programs and resources that we are so fortunate to have.
Yes. Yeah, because one of the things also that that sort of crossed my mind is that many people who are in the military may think, I was a machine gunner, so my MOS, there's no transferability of that, So with the training programs, you can go into a training program that's in a different discipline, right? That you were working within the military, I assume.
Yeah, that's what our experts do, right? 95% of my staff across the entire country are veterans themselves, from enlisted to officer, all numerous ranks. And then the rest of our staff are affiliated with the military of some sort, either family members, military spouses, or they just want to contribute to the mission because they believe in what we do as veterans. And because of that experience, you look at our disabled veteran outreach program leads across the country, as I mentioned earlier, working at the American Job Centers, who are all veterans. They know what those veterans that are transitioning out are going through. Many of them were in that process, and that's why they came back to support that effort personally. Again, in Phoenix, meeting with some DBOPs and leaders who are all veterans themselves who utilize the services and now want to give back to their fellow veterans. And so we do understand how to really get someone to take all those skills and professional development that they had in the military, capture that, put into a resume so employers can understand exactly what he or she did in the military. I'm a retired first sergeant. So if you look at my resume, it doesn't say assistant secretary on there. But what it does tell you is I have leadership experience, management experience. I'm able to manage risk. I know how to work in complex environments. I know how to make decisions. All those type of things oftentimes that people don't always acquire when they first get out of college. However, everybody in the military has the ability to learn those skill sets and hone them the longer they're in the military. So I think those skills, soft skills, are so important, and those are what corporations are looking for. When I speak to CEOs all the time, they want those skill sets because they know veterans are flexible. They know veterans can meet the mission requirements regardless of what their background is. We just have to get veterans to understand how to articulate that better.
Mm-hmm. So how does it work out with employers? Do you have a whole host of employers that you normally work with, or is it something that you think that employers need to know how skilled and talented these veterans are? And they can build, if we can build a unit, right, an operational military unit that's functional, that does everything it's supposed to do, why can't it be a business?
Well, that's right. So initially, I can tell you this. One of the things that I focused on when I came to office 3.5 years ago was looking at how do we strengthen our corporate partnerships, our partnerships with veteran support organizations, military support organizations, governments, union leaders, anybody that had a stake in ensuring that we had the opportunity for successful employment with our veterans and military spouses. And so one of the programs that you spoke about earlier, or you highlighted, I should say, the Hire Vets Medallion program, that is an annual program that corporations, small, medium, and large, can apply for through the Department of Labor. Vets, they apply for that program, they get screened, and on average, about right under 859,000 roughly get that award every year, a gold award or a platinum award, which focus on employment and retention. They have to meet specific requirements to be a Hire Vets Medallion awardee, which is actually a Secretary of Labor award that is administered by me and my team at DOL Vets. Once they get that award, they can put their that logo on their website saying that they are a Hire Vets Medallion awardee. And then they go onto our website. We have a map, their careers page that leads them or leads someone to their careers page is on our website. So you can see all the companies that are awardees from our programs. And so, or from DOL Vets rather. and someone can click on their career page because we know they want to hire veterans. So that's just the ones who receive the awards, not to mention the other thousands that our team over the last few years has really connected with across the country.
That's phenomenal, and I have to applaud those employers, for recognizing and it's sort of like a gift to an employer to have a veteran. I don't want to minimize that side of it, but to have the insight and the vision to support veterans who've supported the country is just astounding. Those are the people that I want to go to and buy my products from, and
Right.
and and support. So, what do you think it is that we need to do with veterans? We have a lot of younger veterans who are returning to, from Operation Iraqi Freedom, Enduring Freedom, who can return. People who are still overseas, who are still, in protecting the world. Just because it's not a war that we're actively engaged in doesn't mean that we aren't at war with the issues that we have to do as military personnel. So, what advice would you give to people who are actually in the service right now, who are just returning? Where can they go to find out this information? But what do they have to look forward to?
So this is what I would tell service members who are looking for their next careers. One, make sure that you're connected with us on DOL Vets. You're connected with our LinkedIn or all of our social media accounts because you're going to see consistent information flow there about our programs, seminars that we have, things that our partners do. In many cases, you get to see me around the country meeting with governors or corporate leaders or whomever talking about the value of veterans. And what they need to understand is how to articulate their value, right, to corporate leaders, which is something I really focus on and I try to convey to corporate leaders because all the data shows, Bureau of Labor Statistics, Pew Research, RAND Research, all of them have shown that it is a good business decision. So when I talk to employers, I tell them, if you want to do well in your business, you want economic growth, hire veterans. All the data shows that your company is going to do better when you hire veterans. Veterans have a lower unemployment rate than our non-veteran peers. Last year alone, it was 3% compared to 3.9 for our non-veteran peers. Every category of veterans has a lower unemployment rate than our non-veteran peers, even veterans with disabilities. Veterans who have service-connected disabilities also have a lower unemployment rate than our non-veterans that have disabilities. We contribute to the economy more. We stay in an organization that has a culture that is a good fit for us longer than our non-veteran peers. We get promoted faster. We embrace professional development and we take on challenge. We take on risk. And so all those things that we've learned in the military has invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in each and every service member. So we want to make sure that we take that investment and we allow them to grow within any organization that they join. So the company is going to benefit from all of that investment alone.
Mhm. Okay, well, simplify because I had to say that because Judge Hooks and Judge Keys will be killing me if I miss. They're both Marines, so I have to face them at some point when I go home. But what does this mean to you? Give me some of your success stories because I know you have them. People who came forward and didn't think they could do it, they couldn't make it. That things were just because when you come back, sometimes we have service members who are suffering from PTSD or from other depression, other things that happened because of what they saw, what they experienced. But now they're back here, and it's like, boy, you just dropped me into a whole alien world. So what kinds of stories have you seen? Because I know you have seen some.
I have, and as I mentioned, I'll give you the most recent ones in Phoenix, Arizona, but I was just at literally last couple of days. And we talk about not all veterans are the same, right? We know that sometimes veterans change or experience specific challenges, as you had mentioned, based off of that military service. But what I always tell everyone is that we have to get away from that broken veteran narrative. We know those exist, but for the most part, our veterans are resilient. We know that they're going to do well given the right resources, right, and the right treatment from our Department of Veterans Affairs colleagues. And of course, our employment, because we know when they have good quality employment, they have great education, they create generational wealth for themselves and their family members. And I think that is inherently important. Recent example, I had met 3 service members yesterday. I had a great conversation with them. All 3 formerly incarcerated, 2 Marines and 1 sailor.
Mm-hmm.
While that sailor was incarcerated, he said he realized he made mistakes. And so what he wanted to do is prepare himself for exit into the economy once he separated from incarceration. Got a bachelor's degree, graduate degree, and now is working on his PhD after he separated out of the prison system.
Wow. PhD.
PhD is working on that now. Another one got a bachelor's degree in counseling. He is now working on mental health counseling for his fellow vets, and he was substance abuse, and that's why he was incarcerated.
Okay.
And so now he's recovered, educated, and now he's giving back to the community. The other one, another Marine, fell on hard times when he separated from the military. And then he had 2 businesses that were closed. He was actually a fitness guru, had 2 businesses, 2 gyms. They were closed down because of COVID. And so he had some challenges after that, made some bad decisions, his words, wind up in jail. But during that process, he wrote a book about his experiences as a veteran and some of the challenges he experienced. And now his book is in final publishing right now, going through edits, and he's going to come out with that book. But I didn't say the other Marine who's working on counseling, he's now coming out with the podcast to talk about what he has done through his experience and how he wants to encourage veterans to get treatment, to utilize our resources. And I offered to be one of his first guests once he gets it up and running. So I'm going to do that for him.
Oh, fantastic.
So, those are the type of stories that I hear across the country, but these are literally the ones I just had yesterday before I flew in last night.
Yeah, because Judge Hooks, I was mentioning that name, but he's the nephew of Benjamin Hooks from the NAACP, but he's a judge, but Marine, and he has a veterans court. But he says that we should not be incarcerating people. It should be a different pathway for people who have gone through the traumas that people have gone through, and get them back into society. I just had to applaud you, bow down and say Semper Fi correctly as an Army guy. It's still hard to get out my throat, but I'm practicing. But we are getting close on time. But I want to thank you. We have like about a minute and a half to go. But give me something. Do you want to say people can go to a website? Things that they word of encouragement that you can give them.
Yes, and I'll tell you what, these type of programs that you all have here literally inform people. So I want to thank you all for that. But secondly, as you mentioned, go to our DOLvets.gov/vets. I might be messing that up. Google DOL Vets.
Oh,
my company is gonna not be happy about that. Anyway, if you Google DOL Vets, you'll see all of our programs. Go on there, follow all of our social media. Because again, these resources are on our web pages. We work with every veteran, National Guard and reservists, and military spouses. So we know how valuable all 3 of those organizations are, and oftentimes they get left out of the conversations. So we're going to ensure that we provide resources for those communities as well, because we know it's inherently important to have sustainable employment, because that is what leads to economic success and overall health and wellness for the individuals who served in uniform.
Okay, yeah, and I do have one website. It was dol.gov/agencies/vets/programs. And if you want to really get an incredible bio for someone, just put in Google Honorable James D. Rodriguez, and you will have days of reading to do. But thank you so much for being on the show. I can't thank you so much for helping out veterans, and from my heart. So it brings tears to my eyes. But